Hi everyone, welcome back to the fourth episode of Candid Talk. And I welcome Dr. Richa Gupta, head of the Department of Respiratory Medicine Department, CMC, well on with us. She's with us. So in the last episode, we talked to Dr. Sonia Dalal about the glory and the good things about the private practice. But today I'm going to talk to a head of the department of a medical college. She's a teacher and also seeing treating patients. So let's have a conversation with Dr. Risha Gupta. So, ma'am, welcome to PAX Candid Talks. So, my first question to you will be about your personal journey. So, how did you become a head of the department in respiratory medicine in the CMC Vellore?
Hi everyone, and thank you, Kanisha, for having me here. So, talking about how did I become an HOD of a respiratory medicine of a tertiary care center, it's a big, long journey, but then probably the hard work and the passion is something which paid uh, long back, some 24, 25 years back, when I chose respiratory medicine. It used to be called as MD, TB, and chest diseases in KGMC. When I picked up this, even my family members were not very happy. They wanted me, being a girl, to take some, branches like gynae or pediatrics. But I wanted to do respiratory because I got inspired by one of my teachers, Professor Nath, in my UG, and I wanted to do respiratory or ENT. Unfortunately, I didn't got ENT in KGMC, so I pick up that. And then I think everything and anything is possible if you just work hard and with sincerity and passionate about the work you do. So it's a long journey, but it cuffs
So,
you.
you mean to say that things actually fall in place?
Yes,
You just have to work your, whatever is required from you.
yes, I agree.
Is this true that the private doctors, the doctors working in a private practice, I mean to say, earn more than doctors working in a public healthcare or working in a medical college, I mean to say, like you?
Right. So I work in India's top medical colleges, Christian Medical College, and it's a trust hospital. And basically, how would I say, it's a charitable hospital. So I agree. In terms of earnings, in terms of when we talk about the monetary earnings, certainly it is much, much better for my colleagues who are working in private or corporate setup. But
How do you, I mean to say, deal with it, this difference?
the difference, there are two or three things to it, if I would say. One thing is your professional satisfaction. Are you happy with that? So that brings you up quite a bit of zeal to work with even low salary, is what I would say. The other thing is, Vellore is a very small tier 2 city. You don't have much. So I'm happy. You are satisfied with whatever you are getting. There's not much to do in Vellore. So you don't spend too much. You can manage.
Okay, so you talked about the satisfaction right now. So let's elaborate this. What satisfaction you get when you talk about this job in a medical college?
Uh, so, working in a setup where I am, I feel I see all variety of patients, all our which are mentioned in the book, no? So from A to Z, all kind of patients you see. Besides, in a medical college, especially when you are working, you have all the support departments which are equally good. So if I have to make a diagnosis, I know I'm dependent on a very good pathologist, on a very good radiologist, good rheumatologist. So I have the support system, and that's satisfied. The satisfaction of making a diagnosis, a correct diagnosis for a patient, is certainly a tick for me. And that really helps when you are in an institute or a medical college like setting.
So you mean to say the ecosystem is
It's
very,
very good. Yes.
and you have a lot of support, and you are free to do to evaluate the disease and the patient
Yes.
and get to the diagnosis,
Yes.
not living in matrix.
Yes, that I would say. So, any patient who is coming, I would not consider that patient as just as a simple patient. Any answer I'm not getting, I would go until the end, and that gives you a satisfaction that you're able to identify or the disease and accordingly manage the patient.
And the process is very beautiful. And
The process is very beautiful, yes.
how do you exactly balance this, teaching as well as treating the patients as well as your personal life?
So, yes, being at a position where you have lots and lots of work plus lots of travel, also, I would say things wouldn't be easy if you don't have a very good support system at your department as well as at your home. So my husband, he himself is a leading pulmonologist, and he understands. So he is not in a teaching hospital, so he understands my problem. So he is there, a very very strong support, and because of which I'm able to give quite a bit of time of mine to the department to bring up the things. Then see, I think any department or any institute will work if you will nurture the people around you, and if you respect the people around you, you should give them due importance, and that is how the things work. That is what I do. So I have a good team. We are a 70 people department, including everyone, right? And I think we are a very close knit family kind of a thing, and everybody wants to do everything for anyone. So this comes when you take everyone together. So this is very very important, giving due importance to every person in your department, and keeping everyone together is something which I think will help you overcome all the challenges possible.
So you mean to say you need to be a good leader as well?
Yes, you have to be key. And more than that, you can be a leader, but a leader is the one who leads, and you lead only by living yourself.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a very small example. Being in a hospital, our hospital starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so we start academics on, say, Monday is our academic day. If as a head, I'm coming at 8:15, I'm sure the other people will walk in at 8:20, 8:30. So keep the discipline, intact. All I do is I'll be in the hospital, I'll be in the department at 7:30 a.m. sharp. So initial few days, people find it difficult, but when they always see that she is sitting there, so, everything fall in place. Now the academic starts sharp at 8 a.m. and I really feel proud of it. So you need to lead yourself to be a leader is what I feel.
So let's talk about the burnout. Like we have talked about a lot of work and everything. Do you think burnout is a growing concern for doctors? And how do you maintain yourself saving from that burnout?
Yes, I think burnout is a real situation people are feeling, and it's difficult. I could feel. I mean, I don't want to compare myself with my junior staff because things have changed totally. The way we have worked, I cannot say that you should also work like that. So, what we do is at our workplace, in a month we have one Tuesday afternoon, we have this ice breaking sessions where we sit with the entire department and we have some exercises which are fun exercises, kind of a thing. So we, so that is one of the ways of doing it. Plus, uh, for us, going back for me, how do I do it? These exercises plus. I make sure that when I go back home, I do not take much of my hospital work. So whatever I try to do is finish it within the time, so that my time I want to spend with my family. That gives me again, the energy to go back again for the next day.
Okay, that's a wonderful thing that you practice. But and is this very practical to get cut off from the hospital when you know that in the night also patients are coming to the emergency, getting admitted?
Uh, so probably, my setup is a totally different setup because
I have a big team.
I have a big team. So those kind of night calls probably I don't have, only in a situation, though I am 24 by 7 on call, but because it's a big team, they manage and it comes to me only when the things are out of control. But I believe you have to prevent yourself from getting burned out, you have to set your limits.
Yeah.
I think it is very very important. You as a single person cannot do everything. So listen to yourself and see what is your limit, and please do not cross that limit. We are human beings. We cannot be God. We cannot be everywhere. We cannot do everything. I think defining your limit is something which is very, very important. And if you define your limit, you have time and managing the time. So we keep saying time nahi hai, but I think if you just chart chalk out the plan. That is what I do in the morning. When I wake up, I just put up the things together. These are the things I have to do. So you go pretty well.
So you need a proper planning, and you need to
Time
understand your limits.
and your limits is very, very important.
So a lot of postgraduate students are watching this, and I'm sure many will watch it after a few years. So what advice you will give to the young doctors who are watching this about choosing a career in a public healthcare or maybe a medical college like you, or going to a private setup? What do they choose?
Kanishka, I think it depends on individual choice only. From the very beginning, I always wanted to work in an institute. The thing came, I wanted to be a teacher, but my parents wanted me to become a doctor. So I chose something where I can be a teacher as well as a doctor. So I think it's very, very personal. But working in an institute or a medical college setting, I feel that you feel that satisfaction that you are nurturing our younger generation to become to take up the role what you are at present. Again, some people are made to work in corporate. Some people are made to do. They don't want any interference. They wanted to do all their own. So I think what is important is for the younger generation is probably you identify what you want. How do you want yourself to see in next 5 years? That is what the question I always ask for all my juniors. Where do you see yourself in next 5 years? And based on that, you decide where you want to. Now, if you want to go into medical college, you have to start from the beginning, right? As soon as you finish your PD, you need to do an SR and then you start up the things. If you want to do a corporate job, don't waste your time. Just go into the corporate, in a right corporate, and then start work. Want to do a private practice, don't waste time. Just start immediately. But uh, you have to think about it while you are in your first year of post graduation or specialty or super specialty. Think about it and plan it accordingly. You cannot think like that. You finish, okay, I'll finish my 3 years of specialty, then I will think. That is the time when you come at a crossroad and you find it difficult. And then people started jumping here and there and waste lot of their time. So think about how you are made in. Do you want more money or do you want more service? Which kind of a person you are, and accordingly design yours.
And also, if you cannot decide at that particular moment and you are on crossroads, maybe you can just give 1 or 2 years and then understand it's okay to come back and take switch the decision if you are not getting it.
Yes, I agree. It's always, going into something and then not liking it, it's not a dead end for you.
Yeah.
You can always decide because lots of things comes later in life.
Yeah.
You see something and then you find, okay, I'm not for this kind of a thing. I wanted to. Yes, I agree on that.
Completely. So, moving on to the last main question, if you could change one thing in the system to improve pulmonary care in a hospital setup, what would it be?
Ah, so I have seen lots of setups. I've seen corporate setups. I've seen medical colleges. The one where I'm working, which is equipped with the entire, whole lot of things required in pulmonary medicine is there. Whereas I have seen where there is nothing. I've seen at the government setups also. So one thing I would like to change is probably I would request, and if I could be possible, see, obstructive airway disease is something which is the most commonest disease in our clinical practice as a pulmonologist. I wish I could get that power and I could bring spirometry in each and every center.
So you will just mean to say the basic setup and
Basic setup should-
investigation
Yes.
should be there at least in all the private setups as well as the government setups and all
Every
the
facility, yes.
corporate hospitals. So my question would be, I think, quite personal. Maybe, what advice you would be giving to your younger self? Suppose you go back in time and you see yourself. What advice? One advice you would give to your younger self?
Um, I would say that so it took a long time for me to grow. So I would say be more, think about yourself, be little selfish at sometimes while you are doing all the job, is what I would say.
Yeah, so it's okay and very important, I think, to say no sometimes.
Yes, it is.
So now we move on to the next section, which is rapid fire rounds. We'll be asking a few questions to you. That answer will be very short and crisp. So, what patient story you'll never forget? Quick.
A very quick one. A lady, 19-year-old lady who's been treated with, asthma for last 6 years came to us, and spirometry done shows flattening loop, and we knew there is something endobronchial. Admitted the patient, removed the lesion, and the next day when I went and saw her, she said, "I could breathe. Thank you so much, doctor." So that was, I can never forget. She was a 19-year-old girl. So
So, tea or coffee during the hospital rounds?
nothing.
Or I don't before the hospital. You're a coffee person or a tea
No,
person?
I'm not a tea or a coffee person. I'm normally a water or a juice person, if you would say.
Perfect. Okay. So, one medical gadget you cannot live without.
My phone.
Phone.
Yes, I can't live without phone.
A lot of apps.
Lots of apps, medical apps in there, and anything you need a reference, you can quickly enter it. And so, particularly you talk about a medical gadget, it's an ultrasound.
Yeah.
I just cannot think my pulmonology practice without an ultrasound probe.
So, you have to give this answer, by the way. You cannot just reflect it. If not a pulmonologist, what other career you would have chosen at the time when you were very young?
As I told, a teacher
A teacher.
or maybe a chef right now.
So you have a hobby of
I love cooking. I love cooking. And the family says that I cook pretty well.
we would love to taste it, wouldn't it? Teaching or treating?
Teaching.
Teaching is more important to you and gives you more satisfaction. I
Yes.
say, okay. So one leadership lesson as a head of department you learned the hard way.
I learned the hard way was to say no.
To say no.
It was difficult for me, but I
was
learned it.
important.
It is very, very important. You can be respectful. Saying no doesn't mean that you're not respecting your senior or the other person, but you should learn to say no when it is required.
So we have come to the end of this conversation. But before that, one message for all the viewers you want to give. One last message from your side.
So, dear all, I would just like to say whatever you do in your life, whatever you decide to do it with all the sincerity and passion, and that is going to take you long way.
So it was a powerful conversation with Dr. Richa Gupta, and we don't get to meet her every day, and we don't get all these kind of conversations every day. I'm very, very thankful to her that she came all the way from CMC Vellore to NCRD, and we recorded at PAX. Thank you, Dr. Deepak Talwar sir, for making this engagement and naming that with my name, Candy Talk with Kanishk, and we all hope that we try to bring a lot of guests at our show so that you get to get a lot of insights from their side. So I'll see you again until next time. Bye.